There's so much that needs to be said right now. So many things that are pertinent, significant, maybe even something magnificent. I can't think of any examples going on in the world right now, but in a vast universe of possibilities, there must be something magnificent going on today. There is a lot to say about what's going on in the world and in this country and in this community and in my intestines. But I don't feel like talking about any of that right now. And deep down, you don't feel like hearing me say it either. I truly believe that just as there are wackos spreading misinformation and hate, there must also be good people spreading truth and compassion, and I hope that you have heard them say relevant things. But today I feel like talking about elephants. I even thought about titling today's message, Irrelevant. But I couldn't decide how to spell that in a way that the pun could blossom in the reader's brain with just the right comic timing. Someone heard that I would be speaking on this topic at great length and asked me, "Do you feel a special connection with elephants?" "No," I said. And when the heavy pause got a bit uncomfortable, I tried to reignite the conversation with a question. "Hey, elephants are mammals, right?" She answered with a question. "Do you think they hatch from eggs?" Our interaction sort of recovered. She told me a little bit and then recommended I read a book. This brief interaction will tell you all you need to know about the relative size and centrality of elephants in my mental universe. I spend more time thinking about Melissa Etheridge than I do about the entire elephant species. And she is not the center of my mental universe, just an example of one of the many comets and asteroids that kind of pass through my mind every so often. And I just bought one of her records, so she popped into my head. Anyway, pondering this brief conversation about elephant babies, I must say in my own defense, I really was about 85% sure about elephants being mammals. Also, technically, elephants do come from eggs, which I assume must be microscopic. And maybe I shouldn't do this, but I now invite you to make a mental picture with the following title: An elephant comes from an egg. And now another mental picture with this title: Elephants are mammals. Do elephants come from eggs? Or are they made out of milk? Or both? With questions like these, biology textbooks are useless. We must turn instead to the Hindu scriptures, in which all things are possible and the opposites of all those things are also possible. The scriptures of the Sanatana Dharma, better known to us as Hinduism, are more vast and varied than the writings of any other religion. And one of the ancient Hindu scriptures is called Matangalila, meaning the playful treatise on elephants. In this we find that in the beginning, the great golden-winged sunbird laid the universal egg, containing all of the matter of the cosmos. When the god Brahma broke this in two, he sang 7 songs over the soup inside, and from the half shell in his right hand, some of the fluid congealed into a male elephant. As Brahma's song continued, 7 more male elephants emerged, and then 8 female elephants from the shell in his left hand. These 16 elephants paired off into couples and used their combined might to hold up the sky. They are the pillars of the Indian universe. In another Indian creation story, the universe begins just with a vast ocean of milk, and the gods churn this milk into butter from which they can mold various forms. Like, around Easter time, there's that butter lamb in the grocery store. Like, they do that, and then they can bring them to life. And one of the first things they make from this butter is a white elephant. In Indian religion, A white elephant, or an elephant with white patches, is like a walking cloud with a special ability to communicate with its friends, the other clouds in the sky. So when a white elephant is found, it must be celebrated, or else the monsoons won't come, and the crops won't grow, and everyone will die. But if you keep a white elephant happy, it will signal its cloud friends to send rain for the crops. There is actually an annual holiday, one of the 10,000 holidays of the Hindu year. That sounds like a joke, since the year only contains 365 days and 6 hours, but we're talking about a religion with 3 million gods. So 10,000, I think, is really a lowball estimate of how many holidays there are. Anyway, one of the annual holidays, a sort of rain dance, requires the presence of a white elephant. And if one cannot be found, you can fool the clouds by slathering a gray pachyderm with white sandal paste, and then distract the clouds by having men in women's dresses dance around it, making obscene gestures. If I were a cloud and I witnessed this, I would not squint to see if it was a real white elephant or a painted one. I would just give the people what they want. Returning to the question, do elephants come from eggs, or are they made of milk, or both? The answer is yes, and yes, and yes, and then some. But in the search for these answers, we stumble into even more questions. Let's start with the most basic question on every child's mind on the drive home from the zoo. How did the elephants lose their wings? This is a sad story, not a funny one. Since all elephants had wings in the beginning, and they spent their days gracefully dancing among the clouds. The offspring of the first 16 elephants from the universal egg were a flock flapping around, until one day they were flying across the Himalayas and they needed to rest, so they landed on a tree branch. But they were so heavy that the bough broke, and they came crashing down to the ground. They laughed, they brushed each other off, and merrily flew to find another tree branch to perch on. However, it happens that a wise old monk had been teaching under that tree, and several of his students were crushed under this branch and its avalanche of elephants. So when the laughing elephants wiped themselves and flew away, the old teacher cursed them. When the time came to fly from that second branch, the flock was shocked to find that they had no wings anymore. They had to climb down the tree, which is hard when you don't have hands, and painfully ironic when you have a trunk. And from that day to this, the elephants have been forced to wander, grounded, trumpeting at the sky that they cannot reach anymore. Like I said, it's a sad story. Not as sad as Disney's Dumbo, but I have nothing to say about that. As a scholar of different faiths, I take my vacations in India. I've never been there. But when I get bored of studying other traditions and stories, I take a glance to see what new ancient thing the Dharma can dazzle me with. Reincarnation is my favorite idea about the afterlife, and the one that seems the most logical to me, since I frequently feel like I've been left to pay the check for someone else's feast. And if I ever did get reincarnated, I'd like for it to be in India, since it's a region and religion that makes sense to me. I don't have a lot of religious decorations in my office. There's a poster of the Egyptian pyramids, and the front window screen of my computer is also of the pyramids. And there's a little mini statue of the pyramids on one side of my turntable. The pyramid thing started because I'm a Pink Floyd fan, and the poster came with my record of The Dark Side of the Moon. And I think that Pink Floyd lyricist Roger Waters really wants me to ponder the pyramids. Plus, they fit in with my gloomy, pessimistic sense that many of us will spend our lives hauling stone for someone who's already dead and gone. Anyway, the single non-pyramid related religious artifact in my office is a small metal statue of the Indian god Ganesha. He's also on my record player, and he sort of counterbalances the pyramids. They remind me of miserable toil, and he reminds me not to take things too seriously. Brandon, would you be willing to put the picture of Ganesha up, please? Thank you. The other thing I really love about Ganesha is that he's fun. Like, it's hard to look at him without smiling. I couldn't be a Christian minister, partly because, like, in my first week at the church, I would say, if we're going to have Jesus on the cross up here, we need to have the Venus of Willendorf next to him. And we've got to have Ganesha on the other side. Like, that is a holy trinity that would kind of balance itself out. Like, this dude's suffering, we got to have somebody fun. Ganesha is the good-natured god of prosperity. He's known as the remover of obstacles, but I'm not sure that removing is precisely what he does. He has, and it's very small down there, a pet mouse or rat. He has overcome the elephant's natural terror of vermin, and he can ride this tiny creature like a sort of roller skate. The mouse, I've read, represents tricky problem solving. There's food in the house, and this little critter will find a way to get it, regardless of the many dangers, toils, and snares. But some difficulties cannot be navigated through stealth, speed, and acrobatics. And when it comes to these problems, Ganesha is an elephant. He can stampede and trample his way through. Or better yet, being a polite, playful, pudgy guy, he can probably charm his way through. I like Ganesha. He makes sense to me. The pyramids make me think of working to pay for the good times that were had by a dead man. And Jesus on the cross makes me think of some other guy in the past prepaying for me to have a good time, but wanting me to feel really guilty about it. And then I go to an Indian restaurant, and I see Ganesha standing by the cash register, smiling at me. I had a good time eating the food. Now I can pay for it myself. And I want to, so that the hardworking cooks and servers, they can afford to have a good time. Good times are had, bills are paid, the universe is in balance, and we all get on with our lives. That's what I like about Ganesha next to the cash register. And you should always remember to tip the full 20% at an Indian restaurant, or else you might be reincarnated as a dishwasher for the next 100 lifetimes. Of course, that's an oversimplification. Anything under 20,000 pages is an oversimplification of the Dharma. The obstacle is karma. The solution is karma. It's complicated. But at least we've got Ganesha to remind us that a 10,000-year snakes and ladders game of karma can also be fun. As to the question of whether Ganesha was born from eggs or milk, it seems like such a simple question, but in the vast and various realm of Indian mythology, there's nothing. Oh, there's always some interesting twist. The radiant goddess Parvati, one story goes, wanted the bathroom to herself, but her husband Shiva was always barging in without knocking. So the goddess kind of patted her body down with dust, which mixed with her sweat, and she clumped it off, and she molded the shape of this little guy, an ordinary looking guy. And she named him Ganesha, meaning guardian. So she put this little guardian at the bathroom door when she went in, and Shiva came thundering home. He went straight for the bathroom. He was in a real hurry. But this little guardian wouldn't let him through. Shiva sent a whole army of demons to attack him, but the dutiful little dirt-clod guardian fought them all off. So Shiva stormed off and told his brother Vishnu, who laughed and agreed to help. Vishnu created a vision of a maiden so statuesque that the guardian turned to stare, and when he was distracted, Vishnu chopped his head off. But this made Parvati even more angry, and she launched on a furious, destructive rampage that threatened to destroy all of creation. Shiva had to think and act fast, so he grabbed the first animal he saw, took its head, and put it on the guardian's body. It's unknown whether he thought he could get away with this change or not, but surely Parvati would have noticed that her handsome little guy now had the head of an elephant. The elephant looks as different from humans as you can possibly get without coming from another planet. And Ganesha occupies a unique space in between. But in the end, we are all made of the same ingredients: milk, egg, dust, sweat, and some hasty improvisation. That is a recipe for life, human and elephant alike. Thank you.